On the face of it, this should have been a very profitable partnership. You have the United States military running a big old ad campaign with good old American football, and The Rock of all people. You would think in a vacuum that this would be a tremendous boon for all those involved, but this deal was also inked at a point in time when The Rock's stock hasn't completely tanked the way that it has in 2024. Because I remember earlier this year, the dude was losing thousands and thousands of followers across a multitude of platforms after it was exposed that, yeah, you know what, this guy's about as authentic as an Alabama vaccine certificate. But when it comes to show pure, unadulterated, all-American masculinity, you would think for normies that are out there, man, The Rock, he embodies that. You know, a lot of people who would be signing up in the military, hell, they grew up with The Rock, right? Attitude Era, smell what The Rock is cooking, you know, putting boots in asses, poontang pie, and all that other lame cringe stuff that he was doing back in the cut. I've never been a Rock fan, okay? I was always Austin kind of guy. You know, The Rock's biggest rival being Triple H always put me to sleep whenever they would square off. That's his greatest rival. He had the best matches with him. Like, The Rock couldn't even have a decent or a memorable match with The Undertaker. Like, what the hell is going on here? But I understand his appeal. Okay, I understand, why he got so popular in movies, even though when it comes to just a pure, raw action film sense, you know, Stone Cold has him beat. But that's another topic for another time. But let's cast our minds back to when this partnership got underway. The Army inked a significant sponsorship deal with a little-known United Football League, or the UFL, the upstart minor league alternative to the NFL, after internal reviews for the idea found the investment would be unlikely to yield new recruits in a meaningful way, according to documents obtained by military.com. The roughly $11 million deal set the service to be the premier partner for the league's inaugural season, which started last month and created a relationship between the Army and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the owner of the league. Yeah, because he bought up the USFL and the XFL and merged it together as the UFL. Right. Okay. Global celebrity and top-tier online influencer. Yeah, exactly. The deal was more than a year in the making, and planning started before the league was formed by the merger of the two minor football leagues, the XFL and the USFL. The Army pitch originally started as a $25 million sponsorship with the XFL back when Vince McMahon owned it. Just kind of lets you know who is a little bit more profitable in February of 2023. Despite the reduced cost of the UFL sponsorship, service planners behind the scenes spent much of the past year warning that the advertising bang for the buck simply wasn't there. Documents show internal data reviewed by military.com found that the Army estimated the UFL sponsorship deal would only net between 160 and 891 new recruits, spending what they thought would be $25 million, ended up settling on $11 million, all for less than 900 potential recruits. Football sponsorship unveiled for the first time in the week, the Wall Street Journal. Unveiled this for the first time this week in the Wall Street Journal, comes as the Army has struggled to find its footing in an evolving media space and pitch service to Gen Z. The difficulties have been highlighted by years of missed recruiting goals. And yeah, you do this hard pivot, right, to The Rock and football. After years and years of propaganda that as a young, black, disabled, non-binary girl, I was raised to be a strong, independent woman by my two mothers, you can see why people's confidence in the military has been shaken. The service isn't allowed to advertise on TikTok, where young Americans consume much of their media, while the Army has boasted investments in Instagram and streaming platforms. It is heavily invested in traditional cable advertising, where, if you're trying to get a hold of Gen Z, you ain't going to find them there. Documents show that from the beginning, Army marketing officials and other staff in the service were skeptical of the partnership with the UFL, because, that's like trying to launch a multi-million-dollar marketing campaign. The NBA G League, or WWE NXT, which went on to form, the UFL, talking about the merger between the XFL and the USFL. But the bottom line remains much the same. Investments in minor league sports are risky. Given relatively poor viewership, professional athletics is generally losing relevance with Gen Z, the prime demographic for Army recruiting. Some Army staff warn that the multi-million-dollar deal with the minor league football would run an enormous risk of being wasted, with some service marketing officials telling military.com that it appeared to echo other major sports sports advertising blunders, including the National Guard's ill-fated spending on a NASCAR sponsorship, really, that didn't appear to yield recruits. Recently retired Major General Alex Fink, the chief of Army's marketing arm at the time, warned in March of 2023 that the XFL had little meaningful presence online and relatively low social media engagement. Yeah, that was also, was that the first year that they came back after The Rock purchased them out of bankruptcy? Can't remember. According to a memo obtained by military.com, these posts do not demonstrate interest or excitement in our prospect prospect audiences or influencers. Less than 1,500 posts fall between the age range of 18 to 35. But the Army, thinking that they know better, the marketers in charge, I'm sure all of those pink pussy hat wearing gender studies graduates thought that, nope, we're just going to go ahead. Okay, we need recruits and we know the best way to advertise. We've got The Rock. He's like a big movie star and stuff because he's like in Disney movies and he signed a first look deal with Disney. So that means that this is going to be super successful, right? Right. Well, the Army is requesting $6 million back from The Rock because of their $11 million marketing deal that was finalized with the UFL in April. Instead of growing the Army's recruitment numbers, the marketing plan somehow lost 38 recruits. 38 people seen the partnership that they did with somebody that endorsed Joe Biden, who has got the Army on the brink of 2 separate wars in 4 short years, decided to decommit. That's what The Rock has done. Good stuff. I wonder why he made the public proclamation that I'm getting out of politics, guys. I want to have my milquetoast opinions and I want to show up on Monday Night Raw every once in a while and drop an F-bomb and hijack WrestleMania's main event and then gaslight people in the aftermath that, no, I wasn't trying to throw anybody off. No, of course not. There were reports earlier this year claiming that The Rock's star power might be dwindling due to the failure of DC films being blamed on Johnson. And that's not fair, okay? Because I'll go to bat for him on this one, okay? That's DC scuttling the DC franchise. And him with Black Adam actually ended up being the biggest box office boon in a post-reboot DC era where they still had to jettison a whole host of films that were already cooked. And from the people that watched it, Black Adam might have ended up being the best, but it had nothing to do with The Rock, okay? It was all to do with Pierce Brosnan's Dr. Fate. But no, you just take a look at the box office receipts of The Rock, okay? Jungle Cruise lost money. Fast and Furious, the most recent outing, didn't turn a profit. We'll have to see what happens with Moana towards the end of the year, but you've got Moana 2 coming out, and then you've got a live-action Moana because that's necessary, with him reprising his role in that film coming out. And yeah, we're going to have to see how much star power The Rock has because we've seen what he ended up doing for the Fed in the lead up to WrestleMania this year, and realistically, it wasn't that much, okay? All of those Fed nuthuggers that are out there saying that, oh, it's the hottest this industry has been since the Attitude Era, the ratings beg to differ. And obviously, this right here, outside of the internet wrestling community, nobody gives a shit about The Rock anymore. That's just the facts, okay? He got paid $11 million for the Army to lose 38 recruits. How do you possibly polish that turd? But The Rock's $11 million Instagram deal with the U.S. Army actually led to fewer people enlisting. That's crazy. Wrestling legend turned actor teamed up with the United Football League for the project, but failed to attract a single new recruit. And now the Army's asking back $6 million, which kind of shows you how desperate the military is just in general, where they're trying to claw back some money. It's like, how dire is the military in at this point in time where they need every red cent? It's understood that Johnson had agreed to share 5 posts to his 396 million followers in an attempt to attract new recruits, but he only posted 2. Oh, okay, so he's just lazy, but I thought he was all about doing the work and doing all that and whatever. And each post was worth a reported $1 million. In terms of The Rock, it's unfortunate he pulled away at a time when we expected him to be present with us to create content on his social media channels, said an Army spokesperson in a statement, but we're working with the UFL to rebalance the contract. The Rock remains a good partner to the Army, but just not good enough to attract any sort of positive attention. On the deal's future, an Army spokesperson told Fortune, "We won't have a clear view of the results of the partnership or impacts of the Army's financial investments until all marketing elements are complete. This partnership allowed the Army to increase awareness and engage with a wider audience for Americans to learn about the possibilities of Army services." Addressing where the deal went wrong, Megan Sweeney, a former senior advisor for communications for the U.S. DoD, said, "Well, the Army may have thought they were getting The Rock. They were instead primarily getting a partnership with a minor football league. Oof. The Rock is an investor in the UFL, but it's not like he's on the sidelines for every game. As a result, the Army seems to have paid Hollywood-level sponsorship money for minor league exposure. Wow, imagine that. A bunch of idiots who don't know the business throwing around money that they don't really care about. That's the government in a microcosm. Sweeney continued. In the Army's defense, they allegedly did not receive the level of social media exposure they were promised by the Rock's team. It may have cost the Army millions, but this incident will certainly damage Rock's reputation as a brand ambassador without a further explanation on his end. And yes, like I said before, and compound that with him losing thousands and thousands of followers by being exposed as being a fraud, do you think him being forced to rework a very public deal with the government is going to end up playing well to his audience that he's cultivated over those years by being a fence sitter and a Democrat shill? I don't really know, man. Maybe that's why he's been more open to returning to the Fed and why he requested a board seat on TKO at a point in time where his movies are making less money and his sponsorship value is dwindling as the days go on. Really gets the old noggin jogging now, doesn't it? And that's all just because we can smell what The Rock is cooking. And it's grade A, 100% pure Brahma bullshit. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.